Mike, the Stream Wizard, and I'm here today on the banks of the Chenango River, and we're about to do a topographic survey and cross-section survey for a design on this eroded bank site where we plan to install the Rosgan tow-wood method of bank protection and habitat increasement. And it's a project funded by the SRBC through the Upper Susquehanna Coalition. And we're going to take you through the steps of the process here. And
for the design survey phase, we typically already have a general idea of what we will be designing based on our previous site visits, reconnaissance of available data, aerial photos, etc., topographic maps, discussions with landowners, and all that information typically goes into the construction cost estimates, project estimates that have already been put together and included in grant applications that typically occur a year to two ahead of time of project implementation. So we're surveying here to verify the site conditions and collect the data that we'll need for the design phase. The designs do the calculations to ensure that we're designing things up to engineering standards. We place these benchmarks so we can come back again and make sure that we're hitting the same elevations for what we've designed during the construction oversight phase. Cross sections on this site, we did a total of 8, which all encompass the bank full channel dimensions. This image shows our basic survey layout where we determined the locations we needed cross sections to best represent the existing site conditions. This next image coming up shows the layout of a cross section that encompasses the entire floodplain. This is to ensure that what we design doesn't raise the flood elevations in the area. Throughout this process, we're considering the potential changes within the channel, upstream and downstream impacts, flow volumes, velocities, sediment pass-through and processing, and the interaction with the associated floodplain areas. During the design phase, we're creating the drawings, the construction dimensions, calculating the flow volumes, stream velocity, and all the other factors and variables that verify with the math, essentially that what we are intending to design will work. And this phase typically will include permit applications and project bids, coordinating with landowners, discussing access. And speaking of access, this site is about a half mile off of the road, so there were some logistical issues to work out with the contractors, bringing trucking, bringing materials in. Timber mat bridge had to be built across this small tributary here.
So here we are on day 1 of excavation on the site. What you're seeing behind me is the river on one side, and on the other side is the rough excavation for the elevation of our bottom of our bench to start putting the tow wood in. You can see that we left a windrow of natural material between the river and the bench to make sure we don't get any water encroachment and aren't creating any turbidity. Prior to starting to set the actual base of the footer logs for the tow wood, we'll get the turbidity curtain set up so we don't have any sedimentation, and we'll start pulling this back. And we just had a discussion with the contractor about the bottom elevation of our tow, which is of extreme importance because we need to make sure that our root balls are cantilevered out over the flow and at the right elevation so they stay mostly submerged most of the time. And just get a good look at what the site looks like today, because tomorrow it's going to look totally different.
Here we can see construction is well underway. With multiple stages showing. You can see the fabric that's laid out and staged, ready to be pulled back to begin the first soil wrap layer in this section. The guys are down below resetting the turbidity curtain. The turbidity curtain has to be made in sections because it's not long enough to cover the entire site. Once that's set back, they start on the footing logs. We have a little sped up video here showing sort of the stages of the process. The footing logs and the root wad log go in under the water at that low bench elevation. And once that log goes in, they place a large heavy stone on top of that log to help hold it in place. Once that rocks are in place and you have a section ready to go, then they'll take the brush layer and install the brush layer across that. This is all what holds this system together. It's essentially a thatched system.
Here we are on day 4 of construction. Came out for a construction site check. As you can see behind me, they're loading up from their stockpile rocks and logs to bring down to the work site. I stopped the operator because I got looking at things that they had built and everything looks good, but I just wanted to ensure that they understand the footing log concept, getting the log shingled so there's more than one footing log underneath each root ball. So I just talked about the concept there and how important it is here in this silty bottom stream. So I'm good for the day. I'm going to head back to the office, but plan on being out here first thing in the morning to check on things and make sure we're still on track.
This is the concept I was discussing there, is that footing log is not actually parallel to the flow. They're angled back into the bank. So essentially you get more than one footer under each root ball.
Here we are on day 6 of construction. We met with the excavator operator and discussed the footing logs and putting the root balls in, and footing logs are going in just as we discussed, the way that we need them to. He's made quite a bit of progress over the last couple days. Right now I'm looking at this is the first soil wrap, the first lift on top of the tow-wood system. I had a discussion with the laborers yesterday about how to get those willows in properly. We want those willows laid in flat so they're sticking out. Once we wrap this fabric back up over, the willows will be sticking out and immediately start growing. So I'm kind of inspecting this before they start flapping this over again. And I see here, I don't know if you can see in the video, but there are willows underneath that are sandwiched underneath this fabric layer, which goes about 15 feet in. And here's some willows you can see underneath. So once they grade this off here and compact it, they'll pull this roll of fabric back up over, and that will be our first lift, and then we'll bring more willows sticking out and another wrap of fabric that will hang over to be wrapped back up over again. We're making good progress. They're going to work through Saturday. I anticipate they're going to have the bulk or all of the tow wood in by the end of the day then, and then it'll be just bringing these lifts up, and by mid to end of next week we should be done with the project. Here we are close to wrapping up on construction. They got all the tow wood in, the fabric wraps in, most of the stakes on the top done with the shroud line. They just have to go back through and tighten down the stakes to hold that shroud line in for the top layer of the fabric, and then get the willows poked in through that. We just went over kind of how we want the willows placed and laid out through there, and so they'll be on track to get that done in the next couple days. Then just final grading is pretty much done. Then there's final seeding and mulching. So we'll be out in another day or two to inspect the final product, and then we'll have to do the as-built survey. We're just about done here, and then this fall the buffer can be planted, and the site will be good to go. Here we are on day 15 of construction. Behind me you can see that everything is all completed. Got all the wraps in and all the willows are installed. It's all graded off and seeded and mulched. We're about on the halfway point of the length of the site. They're continuing to install the willows. This whole area behind me and along the bank will be planted this fall with large stock trees and shrubs. So after the final construction inspection today, I know that they'll have those willows in by the end of the day today. So the contractor got their final approval to go ahead and move their machinery off site. They've got a little tiny bit of cleanup left to do out by the road, the original stockpile area, which will also be completed by the end of the day today. Worked the 15 days through the weekends to get this done. They picked a good spot where the weather was conducive to getting it done, so they got this done fairly quickly. Typically a project like this could take up to a month or longer. So in this case we have the contractor who is well versed and expert at this type of installation, which really helps with this. We're working on educating other contractors on this method. We've actually got a couple working on other sites right now that we're working with. So these types of projects are really great to do. It's really great for the environment. We're glad to be a part of it.